All right, it is another Monday upon us, and we are so excited about it. It is the sixth day in the second month of the year, February 2023. Thank you so much for staying with us. The program is Business Rendezvous right here on Independent Television. Well, although Nigeria may have recorded a milestone in unveiling the first locally assembled electric car, the innovation may be stalled by infrastructural constraints. However, with Nigeria's first locally assembled electric car, that's the Hyundai Kona, the National Automotive Design and Development Council said over 30% of vehicles plying roads in Nigeria could be electric vehicles, as EVs, as they call them, in the next 4 years. The plan by the NADDC is promising, but for the eco-friendly vehicle target to become a reality, the government must focus on things like legislation and policies that actually would enable people to see the need to protect the environment by going green, particularly in the area of transportation. And experts are suggesting the global shift to solar, wind, and of course electric vehicles, according to experts, is too monumental to overstate, but it may take many years to see such innovation come to full force in Nigeria, because EV adoption globally is aimed at easing the pressure on energy and of course reducing carbon emission. The global electric vehicle market valued at $162.34 billion. That's as of 2019. The projection is also that it will reach around $802.81 billion by 2027. But as of 2019, there were about 2.5 billion EVs globally, but without supporting infrastructure and finance structure, EV penetration in Nigeria may remain a mirage. And according to Director General of the NADDC, talking about Jelani Aliu, said plans were underway to introduce vehicle finance scheme that would enable Nigerians to own, of course, drive technologically advanced vehicles. The plan is not new. It has been in the pipeline since the auto policy became effective. But for Nigeria, a country that relies heavily on used vehicles, achieving such projections seems an illusion. A new report by the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, revealed that millions of used cars and vans, minibuses inclusive, exported from Europe, United States and Japan to the developing world are poor quality, contributing significantly to air pollution and hindering the effort to mitigate the effort of climate change. And that report actually showed that between 2015 and 2018, around 14 million used light-duty vehicles were exported worldwide. Some 80% went to low-middle income countries, with more than half ending up in Africa. The report, based on an in-depth analysis of 146 countries, including Nigeria, found that 2/3 of countries have weak or very weak policies to regulate the import of used vehicles, also showing that there were countries have implemented measures to govern the import of used vehicles, notably age and emission standards, giving them access to highly quality used vehicles, including hybrid and electric cars. But then, why is this such an illusion? Why is this such a mirage for Nigeria to be able to tap into this gold mine that, of course, the other parts of the world is already embracing? Engineer Nwazi Joseph will be joining me on the show this morning to help us look at EVs in Nigeria and looking at Nigeria's infrastructure. Beyond just infrastructure, what other challenge could it be the reason why Nigeria is not even being mentioned? I mean, when you're talking electric vehicles, though we have few of them in Nigeria, I mean, if you go to Lagos and some other part of the country, you get to see pockets of electric vehicles here and there. He will join us on the discussion on the show this morning. My name is Dennis Ofik. Let's take a quick break here. When we return, we focus on the discussion proper on the show. Please stay with us. We'll be back. All right, so glad to know you're still there. The program is still Business Rendezvous. We're reaching you live from Benin City. Engineer Joseph Wanz is already seated with us. He's a transport expert, someone who's got so much handles when you're talking transport vehicles, especially as it concerns electric cars. Well, when you make mention of electric cars, is this something really new in Nigeria?
Well, over the years, electric vehicle has passed through the developmental stages and come to a stage where it is now very practical and is running, especially in the Western world. Yes, the issue of adaptation in Nigeria is the only way to go now. Okay. I say that because even though it has gone worldwide, it has still not gotten, it's not very practicable here because we don't have the infrastructure. That's one. And the power generation is poor in this country, and it cannot accommodate what we need to run our system, because you have to have practically charging port every nook and cranny where vehicles can get to. You have to have charging stations. Okay. You have to have test stations. You have to have places where field batteries can be replaced. All these facilities take time, takes years to install. But as it stands today, even when electric vehicles are making the waves, all the major car manufacturers are falling over themselves to get present the very best to the customers, okay, with all the trappings and good features that goes with it, autopilot and the rest. They are not here for the very good reasons that our electricity issue has to be corrected first, and then we'll now put the infrastructure that will take care of electric vehicles movement, because after a certain point on your way, you have to charge. That is very practicable, okay? You have to charge. But in the situation we find ourselves, we don't have that. But I feel touched that up till now, in spite of all the work that has been done in the Western world on this transportation system, we have never really looked at it to say, look, what can we do to see that this is brought into our system? We know, we see the challenges we encounter on a daily basis on our cars, hold up in our roads. In fact, as I was coming along the Ugbowo road, the kind of hold up I was seeing, I mean, I just thought for myself, how, if it is this bad here now, how is it going to be like 4 or 5 years time? And so any right-thinking person will start thinking of a solution to our problems. Our transportation system is in dire need of a revolutionary solution. Okay. And that revolutionary solution, I beg to say, is around, if we can go for it. And that is introducing what we call Skyway elevated string transportation system, invented by engineer Anatoly Yuniski of Belarus, just that's traveled between Europe and Russia. And the man has done so fantastically well with this mode of transportation system that incorporating it into our transportation system, especially for mass transit transportation system, on the passenger transportation, and even on movement of cargo, on the containers, on the cargo transportation system. All both, they are all good to go. The vehicles are already practicable, and they are working in Dubai and in Belarus. That's Minsk in Belarus, which is the country of origin of engineer Anatoly Yuniski and his invention. And if we come in with it in this country and incorporate it into our major transportation system, it will impact especially on our mass transit system, because it serves as an alternative. If I know that the route I use to go to my work and back every day is always challenged with this huge traffic holdup, I have the option of parking my car in the house and then going to the stations where I can board a Skyway pod and then move. And the beauty of it is that they are so fast, they are so synchronized, that at every 5 to 10 minutes, there's a vehicle loading and offloading in the stations. And so the kind of queuing system you need for it is a very strict one. It's not a case of you have several people lined out waiting. No, it's a case of as vehicle passengers are disembarking from it, others are going in, and then it closes and off you go. And it has its own dedicated route. It's a vehicle that are designed with its own route. It's elevated, it's high, it's built on high strength strings, and it's always good to go. In fact, its speeds are about 500 kilometers highest, and that's a huge one. So all who feel concerned, the government, the politicians, the non-governmental organizations, or be it the commoners who feel disturbed about the situation we find ourselves in terms of transportation today, should see the need to key into this mode of transportation system. It has a lot to offer to us as it stands today and even in the future. And now that the company and the institution are going worldwide, this is the best time to key in. Because for early bird, you know the advantage that goes with it.
All right. So, Engineer Nwanze, quickly, now you talked about this another mode of transportation. Now we've seen something that is related to the cable mode of transportation. I think somewhere in Akwa Ibom. I can't remember now, Akwa Ibom State. Are they similar?
Yeah.
Is this it has its own specialized kind of road track system or road another kind of road infrastructure system or something? Is this still going to use our same road infrastructure, or is another form of infrastructure that we have to start banging our head over before we can actually adopt this form? Okay,
thank you very much. You see, what you have at Obudu Ranch is for just entertainment. You go for sightseeing. Those are, but it gives you a picture of what string transportation is all about. It moves on its elevated string, and it moves very fast. In the case of what you have at Obudu Ranch, they are just rollers. It moves less than 20, 30 kilometers per hour. But what we are telling you about string transportation is that it's a mode of transportation where has perfected that string movement in such a way that we are almost near zero friction. And so it's very, very fast. By mere pushing, nudging it by your hands, the vehicles can roll. Talk less of when the engines are moving. And the engines on Skyway transport system are generators. They generate electricity.
So with Nigeria's current infrastructure level, this is something that, of course, is achievable. Looking at, if you want to look at how much this will actually consume to embark on the kind of infrastructure that is needed to bring this into reality, really.
Yes, thank you very much. You see, when there's the will, there will always be a way. If we are determined to go about it, definitely it's just a question of time, because it's very, very easy and fast to install. In a question of, say, 3 to 6 months, you can run a full string, if we are determined, in the city of Benin. Yes, because you see, you plant the erected structure at a distance of about 50 meters apart, and then you run the string. It doesn't take that kind of time you would take ordinarily when you are constructing a road. You know what they put in just to clear a road, do the sand filling, and all the work that goes with it.
But it's clearly much more expensive.
Definitely not. It is far, far, far lesser. As I told you, it only takes a little space, just the kind of space you have when you are installing street lightings in between our roads. That's the location it's going to take. It's such a simple thing that, as it stands today, we can, if it is brought in here, all they need to do for our major roads where you have the street lights, the position where you have the street lights, all they need to do is remove these poles for the street light, dig and reinforce the existing structure, and then plant the high strength poles, which the Skyway string transportation works on. Then they run the high tension strings, which will now hold the vehicles. And when these vehicles are hung on that string.
Yeah.
They are locked to it.
I'm sure when eventually this comes into reality, that of course is something that will not require Nigerians to start paying in cash. I mean, going by the fact that from what you're explaining now is something that can easily go with the cashless policy that the Central Bank of Nigeria is pursuing rigorously. Anyway, we're going to stop you here. We'll have you join us again some other time, definitely. All right. Thank you so much, Engineer Wansi, for coming through this morning on the show.
Thank you very much.
All right. The program is the business to Rendezvous. Let's quickly take a break here. We're back.